How much does it cost? One of the most common questions I get from a whole variety of clients over time. I have no idea what this is supposed to cost. So, a couple of useful points. Number one, 95% of the time it costs more than you want it to. Now, some of this is the Marin dynamic. Things cost more in Marin than 95% of the planet, but also 95% of the United States by mass, by square mile. Marin County is the 5th wealthiest county in the United States by median income. And anyone who lives here pays much higher housing and taxes and various costs, and in part, like I live in Marin. When I was up on Whidbey Island in Washington about 17 years ago, land and home, etc., was 3 or 4 times cheaper than Marin, and landscape costs were cheaper as well. The net percentage of kind of lifestyle and landscape was about the same, but things are more expensive in Marin. Now, I recently had a client that said they were willing to spend $200,000 on a project, and I was able to do it for $17,000. That is a very rare phenomena. Normally, people want to do a $17,000 project for $5,000 and learn they can't even buy the materials for that. Now, that brings me to the next thing. Material costs are fixed. Doesn't matter if you do it yourself, doesn't matter if you hire an unlicensed Latino, working illegally in California, of which there are many. Everyone's got to pay a similar price for the materials. So then you have the hourly rate. Now, typically, in Marin, more money will be spent on labor than on materials. Now, that means if you do the work yourself, you can save often, 60% of the budget by doing it yourself. However, if, as a few clients have done, you ruin the axle of your car carrying rocks, you go in to do chiropractic surgery because you weren't in shape to do landscaping, and you stopped a job at which you were making $70 an hour to do a job that landscapers do for $50 an hour, or $20 an hour, well, you're not necessarily moving forward. But that being said, it's likely to cost more than you want. So how much should it cost? And this is a more important question. And my point, or my personal belief, is that gardens are a luxury. Now, you will get a higher return on investment when you come to sell for a tastefully gardened home. And there are a number of instances where something that'll cost you $1 to do now will get you $2 or $2.25 or $2.75 when you sell. And those are great opportunities where if your goal is to make as much money as possible, you would be a fool not to spend that money. And in those cases, the biggest return usually comes when you solve a pressing problem in a cost-effective way that the average person could not imagine. You get just very high return on investment in those areas. You also get good return on investment for bringing it to a threshold where people don't feel like they've got to redo everything from, just to move in, that they've got the irrigation isn't working at all, the plants are all dead, they've got to do this major thing just to move in, because buying a home and then doing a big renovation right afterwards is it's a lot to take on time-wise and financially. So you also get good returns coming up to a point where there's nothing urgent that someone has to do immediately when they come on. But other than that, for yourself, how much should you spend? Well, you've got time and you've got options. And if you understand that 95% of the time it costs more than you'd like to spend, meaning wouldn't we all prefer things when we were shopping to be 2 or 3 times cheaper than they are? The question then becomes, given that it is a luxury feature for your enjoyment, spending money in our culture causes a certain amount of stress because we are judged through the chauvinism of money is more important than human beings. We're judged by how much money we have, or if we lost everything, etc. And so spending money is in that context where we come a little bit closer to losing it all or not being important enough. It has some stress. And then there's practical things. If we don't have any money, we couldn't fix our car and things like that. So it is a luxury item. You're not going to starve because you turned off your irrigation system and half your plants died because you didn't have enough money to attend to it. But you may end up spending more money when it comes to replace those plants and do that later. I recommend you pick a number that is as high as you can go without stressing, assuming you value a landscape, which you obviously do or you wouldn't be here. Pick a number as high as you can go without stressing. Now, if you're in that rare, context where you say, I'm willing to spend $200,000 on this, and I say, no need, we can do it for 17. Nothing wrong with that. But if you go over that amount where you stress to do a luxury, discretionary item, it's questionable how that's intelligent for your well-being, meaning a garden is for your personal enjoyment and you want to enjoy the process, etc. If you're spending, 3 times more than you're comfortable spending and have high anxiety and stress that takes 2 or 3 years to diffuse, once you pay off that debt or make the money back, etc., why not just wait a year, wait another year until you feel a sense of abundance and can really enjoy the process. So those are a couple of guidelines.